Hi everyone, I'm Olwen Cade and this is Soulful Connections. This is the third program in my series and my guest for this program is Annie Jameson. Now, Annie Jameson is a sound healer, she's a crystal bowl musician and an angel intuitive. She's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful soul, a very genuine and very authentic person. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Annie and we're going to have a wonderful conversation. Hello, Annie.
Hello,
Welcome.
Olwen.
How are you?
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
Me too. It's a real pleasure. I'm lovely to have you here. Annie and I have had some lovely conversations before we started the recording. We've kind of reconnected over the last few days, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah.
It's been about 12 years, I think.
Oh yeah. Yes, we've been in each other's vision over that time, but it's just been lovely to reconnect. And of course, we first met when John and I put out our newspaper Soul Cuisine all those years. At 2008, wasn't it? 2009.
Yes.
And
yeah.
We had the joy of meeting you then and all your wonderful work.
And we loved that magazine. We did.
Yeah, actually, John and I were looking back over it recently, and just the other day, looking for your work in it, and there were some great articles in there. Wonderful people just living their dream and living their passion, being really true to themselves, just like you. And so I just thought it would be really nice for you to talk a little bit about your background and how you got to be here. And you were telling me the other day about your wonderful mum. She's a very spiritual woman. And so I'm just going to leave you to tell us about your early life and how it's led you to be where you are today.
Okay, thank you. So yes, my mother was an incredible woman. She was incredibly inspiring. She brought us all up with Christianity and spirituality. And so I was always allowed to choose who I was. I could be who I was. She didn't try and make anybody anything that they weren't. And so she was a really good example for me in all that I do now. As a child, to be quite honest, I wish she'd just bake cakes because having a mother that was just so tuned in and, you know, such an intuitive, it was quite challenging in those days. You know, that's way before times now where everything's much more accepted. Yes. So I say to my kids who are now left home, you know, I understand them because they have a mother like, you know, like my mother. So when they go, oh, I wish you didn't know what we were doing. And I'm sorry. It's just the way it is.
Well, it's interesting you should say that because, you know, when my kids were growing up, they'd be in the lounge next door and I would hear them, what they were saying, and they would come in and I'd go, no. And they go, you don't even know what I'm going to ask. And they go, how did you know that? And I go, oh, I've got in my ways. You know, little things like that. You know,
I know, it's so frustrating for a child, really.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah, you just know. And it's a blessing and a curse, but very much more of a blessing. So,
yes.
So you grew up where you weren't born in New Zealand, were you?
No, I was born in England. I came over here and got married over here. But the one thing that really my childhood or sort of late teens is my mother was a self-realization student of Paramahansa Yogananda. And so we were brought up, you know, one of my favorite books is Autobiography of a Yogi, which in times when you are down, in times when you're up, it doesn't matter what it is, just gives you that inspiration and just keeps you aligned. So, you know, that is, she held that all her life, that she was a great believer and I chose her well.
Yeah, you did, and she chose you too, didn't she? You know, we always choose our parents and they choose us. Much to the disdain of our children, if you say to them, they go, oh, and roll their eyes like,
exactly.
You did.
Yeah.
And of course, your dear mum's returned to spirit, isn't she, just recently?
Yes, she's now with the angels, but she'll be happy. She'll be really happy up there. Yeah, she was 90. She was 92, and she was ready to.
Yeah, my mum was almost. She was 93, almost 93, and you know, when she passed, I was sad for myself, but I was so happy for her.
Yes, I know, sad for oneself, but yeah. Oh, my mother would be just so happy not to be around now. You know, she'll be having a ball now.
Good on her. So, isn't that all that's all we ever want for our people?
Exactly,
to love, isn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah, even though we're sad and we miss them. So,
yes, terribly. Yeah.
What a great start in life. You chose
It was.
Annie.
Yeah, it was such a. In fact, she was a very strong woman in that she didn't let you off the hook easily, type thing.
Yeah.
And I remember her saying, sort of, it was in my 20s, you know, what took you so long, you know, to follow your spiritual path? And, you know, like, couldn't you have got on with it earlier? I said, you know, you've got to do your stuff.
Yes. Yes.
The timing is right, you know, when you're ready to realize that life needs something else other than just this physical world. You do that in your sort of teenage years and your 20s, and then suddenly one day I went, what am I doing? You know, this part of me is missing. The spiritual part of me is missing. And that's when I really stepped onto my path. And then every door opened up.
It doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
It comes in, for mine, it came in a hiss and a roar, you know, it's been like, ah,
oh yeah, absolutely. When you ask, you know, you receive.
Exactly, yeah. So you came to New Zealand, and is that did your spiritual path really open up to you when you came to New Zealand, or was it?
No, it had opened up before then. So the real active part of me opening up is I decided to invite my guardian angel. And to be honest, I didn't really know what I was invoking. I'd read a little book about how you could do this, and I, you know, because my mother was extremely intuitive. And I sat at the end of my bed, as one does in meditation, and I asked that my guardian angel come close to me from only the highest source of light and love. I was very specific. And I knew about it. I had this incredible energy coming through my body, you know, like sort of waves of shivering. And my ears started unblocking. And I asked, who? You know, just like you would if someone was coming to the front door. Yeah. And I heard Chileo. And I saw the writing too. So I knew exactly how to spell Chileo. And from that moment, I began to hear clairaudiently. And so I wrote, you know, just what I heard, and then sort of blown away. And then the next night I thought, I wonder if I can do that again. You know, because I don't have no one was there sitting there saying, you do this next. It's just from your, you know, your heart. And I thought, I wonder if I can go there again. And so I invoked and invited. And this time I invite, you know, Chileo to be close to me, the guardian angel. And again, I was able to hear, and I was able to ask questions and receive answers. Wow. And when I read back, so this would happen over months, you know, maybe not every day. And the interesting thing now is that I'd written a date at the time. I didn't really think about it. It was the 9th of the 1st, 1991. So it was all ones and nines. And later on, when I reread it, back to myself, I realized that there was no ego in the writing. Mm-hmm. And then I really realized that this was coming from a higher realm, if you like, and there's no waffle from spirit. You know, when we're chattering. So all of that came through, and it was over many months. And I left it, you know, that was just for me. I tuned in, I asked questions, I received the answers, and I kept all that writing beautifully, you know, somewhere. And then I met my husband in England, and we came back. He's a New Zealander. And then we got married and had children. So I was still tuning in for myself, but there was no way I had any other plans, you know. This was all for me. And then one day, 16 years later, after this first event, I was having what I like to call an Eeyore day, where everything was like, my husband was overseas on a conference, the boys were going crazy, you know, like just everything. And I thought, I'll just tidy out all my stuff. So when, you know, I was tidying out clothes, I didn't want this and that. And I came upon my writing, which I knew, I mean, I read it over the years, it wasn't a surprise. But as I picked it up out of my side table to sort of tidy it, I heard then, clairaudiently, this needs to go into print now. And I thought, you have got to be joking. You've got to be joking. I didn't hear that. Have you ever tried to walk away from guidance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away, does it?
So I went out of the room. I thought, you know, a bit like Scooby-Doo. If I leave the room, that little message will stay there. And honestly, that whole weekend, it was like a mantra, over and over. And I'm not a writer, you know, that's not my specialty or anything like that. And then my husband came back, and the morning after he got back, he found me sitting at the computer. In those days, you know, I didn't go on the computer. I hardly knew what to do. But I was trying to type it out. And he said, "What are you doing at 5 o'clock in the morning?" I said, "Oh, writing a book, I've been told." And that's how it started. And do you know what was so interesting? At the time, I was already giving angel readings and things to people, but every single client, every single thing stopped. I had no input from the outside of anything else. And I remember standing in my lounge saying, "So what's happened to everyone?" And all I heard was focus. And I felt like that energy behind me when I was sitting at the computer trying again. There was that energy of, you need to get this out, and it on and on and on until I finished it. Yes. And the day that it was about to go into print, you know, you have moments of major panic. Like, what am I doing? Yeah. And so I said to my husband in the morning, "Oh my gosh, do you think I should put this out? Like, gosh, that's such a huge step." Maybe I didn't hear right. You know? And he said, "You know, it needs to go into print, and you know it's from a higher source because it's far too wise for you." And that was the end of that story. So that's how that journey started. And
that was which book? Which was that? Which one?
That was The Light of Chileo.
Light of Chileo, right? Okay, yeah. That's good. Yeah, because you when we first met up with the Soul Cuisine, you had the Ringing Cedars series, didn't you? You bought the Ringing Cedars series, or you?
Oh yes, I had just bought that. Yes,
you did.
Gosh, that's
a long time ago. And then you've got your small book of universal wisdom. These are the products that were your wonderful gifts that you brought through, that we were talking about in Soul Cuisine at the time, and The Light of Chileo, enriching the soul.
Yes, that was a CD in those days.
Yes, and the Insights from Heaven.
Yeah, so Insights from Heaven they're not my words. They're inspirational cards. And they're words that have come out of both of those books, that have come from the angelic realms or the high realms. And they're more like a spiritual toolkit, I like to think. You know, Yes, of course we can meditate, but we don't always have time. And we don't always have time to, okay, I've got 10 minutes, you know, whatever. And so that you can just hold them. What do I most need to know right now? And boy, do you get the focus. And if you don't get it, you get it again the next day and the next day. There are 44 cards, so the odds are getting the same one. But, oh yes, they pop up. You know, like, you know, whatever it is, it's the right one that you need to hear. You know, like, take action now, or whatever. Yeah. So I love the cards, and they come in this little silk bag.
Yes.
And actually I made them smaller than most cards because I've got quite small hands, and you can't shuffle them. So they're sort of manageable.
Yeah, they're lovely. They're lovely products. And so those products they're still available. People can still.
Yes, they are. They're not so much in the shops now. People can come to me.
Yeah. And of course, Annie's details and how to contact Annie and look into her beautiful gifts are going to be at the end of the program and on my website as well. So we'll talk more about that later. And so that's how I got to know you and your wonderful work. And then of course, as we've said, you know, we've had a bit of a gap in time, and what's happened in that time from the outside looking in, yes, so much, of course, is that you have become a singing bowl musician and a sound healer. And my friend Gail, I played some of your beautiful music to her the other day, last Friday actually, about in the morning we were together, and I said, you've got to listen to this. And we were sitting there listening to your beautiful music on Spotify. And she came up with this question, and I thought it's a wonderful question. She said, where did you connect with Crystal Singing Bowls?
Okay, so that was about 30 years ago in London. I went to a meditation group, this wonderful healer called David Cousins. He used to come down from Wales and take groups. And I went to this one particular meditation, and he would always bring one crystal bowl, and it was the white frosted crystal bowl. To be honest, I don't remember him playing it, but he would ding it, and he probably did go around, and then we'd all sit, and meditate, and at the end he would chime it again, and that was my first introduction. And what he said, and that was 30 years ago, is that the vibration of crystal bowls is so pure that if you play that music or with a bowl, but at the time somebody had created a tape cassette in the ancient times, a tape cassette, and this had crystal bowls playing, chimed on it. And he said, if you play this in your house or your flat, whatever, it will clear the vibrations. And so I bought the tape, put it in, and when I go off to work, I would leave this playing. Little did I know that they're probably talking to me the whole time. I had no idea this is what I would be doing. And so then, 30 years later, I had become an auric magnetic healer. So I was working doing healing, and a lot of the healers had the Tibetan bowls, and they just did not sing for me. And I thought, that's not going to heal anybody, me playing that. And then I was inspired, and I heard that was because that was not my vibration. It was crystal. And that's how then I was guided, by my angel to ask my husband. I ordered one crystal bowl, because in those days, there wasn't much here in 12 years ago. There might have been the option. And he brought a crystal bowl back, not knowing, he thought it was a lead crystal that he was carrying, because it was all packaged. And when he arrived, and I was beside myself with excitement with this bowl, it had come from Glastonbury, because that was the only place I knew that had them. And the boys, they would probably been 8 and 10, and my husband, and we all unwrapped it, and they didn't look terribly impressed, it looked like just a salad bowl. And what was Mum going on about? And then I chimed it, and their faces, I wish I'd taken a photo then. And I remember saying to my husband, I have a feeling there's going to be more. And he said, oh, we won't have any room. That's, we won't have any room. Well, now, we have them in most rooms, actually. Yes. Yeah. That's now my kids have left home, one has a crystal family, you have to there's something to nurture. And we used to sleep with the bowls in the bedroom because, we had, they're everywhere. Yeah. They've managed to consolidate themselves into a temple here now. Yeah,
how lovely. And you've got one there with you beside you, haven't you?
I've got one here beside me, and I've got many behind me and down on the left.
Do you want to give us?
Well, I just say, so this is an alchemy crystal singing bowl from Crystal Tones in the States. So this is pure quartz.
Yes.
And it has been infused with rose quartz and then fired. So you've got the energetic of the crystal amplifying the energy of rose quartz, which is opening the heart. So we'll see.
It's lovely, isn't it? It's just amazing. And of course, Zoom doesn't do it justice, does it? But you can.
No. So you really need either to come through speakers, and you'll really feel the vibration, or through headphones. Then you'll hear the actual, the sound. It's not distorted by anything.
I've been working over the last week or more, and probably a bit longer than that. I've had you on Spotify, and I've just had your music playing, and I have to truly say that I said this to John yesterday. I said, I just feel so peaceful. I've slowed right down, just gone. And I'm usually a bit like a bull at a gate and kind of rushing around, dropping things and tripping over things and clumsy clogged. But I've noticed that that's changed, that I'm not doing that anymore, that I'm actually very present. So every day I put your music on and I listen to it while I'm working. And I'm going, and it is truly, truly made such.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, bless you, my darling. You know,
it is an extraordinary frequency.
It's hugely powerful, and you can just feel it. You know, some of the pieces that you in your beautiful albums on Spotify, and I listen to them and I just go, oh, I can feel the vibration in my body and certain parts of my body or my whole body or whatever. And it really, I've just gone like that, and I'm so much more present than I was. So, to anyone out there who is in need of calming down and just feeling more present, and then you need to listen to Amy's music. You do, because it will make a difference. And we're going to talk a bit more about that shortly, about one of the special things a lot of the special things that you've got going on. But one of my question was, where do you draw your inspiration from to compose your music? So you were talking about your higher realms and your angelic realms, but is that where you draw from? What do you do when you're composing pieces of music?
Yeah, so definitely interesting. The first album that I brought out, Weaving Sacred Sound, it was totally spontaneous. Somebody came to record, and I was like the day before, like, what am I going to do? And it was my son, my eldest son, Ben. He said, well, let the angels play, because I'm always on about listening. Yeah. And so that one of the tracks was called Letting the Angels Play. So, yes, I offer up to be inspired, to bring through what will most help people, to bring them into their heart center, to bring them into balance. And then, I just come up with ideas, and then I play the bowls, and then I go, yeah, that does it for me. And I'll never let anything out unless it does it for me, unless I listen and go, yep, that's it. I have to feel it before I let it out there. And with my lovely husband, he absolutely loves the bowls. And when I'm trying out things, and I go, listen to this, he starts to just do this, and then I know, okay, that one does it. At one time, we brought a bowl back from America, and I said, I just want to try this on you, because I was so excited. He was out like a light snoring, and I woke him up. I can't believe I did this. I woke him up and said, are you relaxed? So we always laugh about that. I said, and he said, you can, he was snoring, but I want verbal, I wanted a verbal feedback. Yes, I it's just when you're playing the bowls, and I play a lot, and they're around me, and they talk to you, and then play me, and then I try that, and then I go, oh, that would be amazing, or oh yeah, that one's got it. It's an interesting process. As I said, if you told me 15 years ago this is what I'd be doing, I'd be going crazy. I don't know anything. I loved music as a child, and I played the piano. That was my favorite subject at school. But playing crystal bowls, that was totally out of it. And Michael will often say, can we have a day without talking about bowls? Yeah.
Does that
No, it doesn't. And I'll just go, oh, you're going, yeah, let's. He loves them. He absolutely loves them. And so when he says that, I say, you're really blessed, to be living amongst
absolutely
crystal beings. They're living beings, and they've all got their own energy. You know, they've all got that, just even looking at them.
And look at those,
the light on them.
You've got behind.
Just the light through them is incredible.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. And of course, you've been working very hard to get your music out there over the last while, and you've tried a few times to get your music into one of our New Zealand icons, haven't you? Our New Zealand airline, Air New Zealand. So tell people about that, because it's such
So we were traveling overseas more frequently as my mother got older. You know, the parents get older and back to and on the plane, you know, you're usually really quite stressed on a long haul flight, and it's so boring. And you know, my husband loves watching all the movies, but I find that just stresses me out. I'm just wired then. I just want to try and sleep. And I said to him, you know, my music would go really well on here. I need to get it on here. Anyway, it's not as easy as that. It took me a long time, you know, it was a long process. And of holding that vision. I kept holding the vision and feeling it. So most days I'd be out there talking to the angelic realm, bring my music to the higher realms, you know, to be able to go around the world helping people, and I would visualize and feel it playing. I would imagine myself on the plane, and I would imagine myself saying to Michael, this is so cool, it's on there, New Zealand. You know, I would imagine that. And then one day, so after a year of this and various things happening, that they didn't reply to my email. And my son and his girlfriend went overseas, so they thought, well, maybe they could write music. But you get an answer, but it's yeah. You know, so there was nothing. And so on this particular day, my son, when I was going, you know, it will be there. I know it will. And he said to me, he was overseas, Sam, he said, you know, Mum, let it go. I said, you know, I can't. I can't let it go, because I can feel it on there and I can see it on there, and that vision is too strong. So off he goes. And it was that day that it all came together. And I found the guy's phone number, personal phone number, you know, and I thought, if he picks up the phone, I've got 2 minutes to pitch it. You know, if he doesn't, then I haven't lost anything. It was such a drive, So I pitched it to Air New Zealand, and they came back within 5 minutes. He said, sounds fantastic. We're uploading to Air New Zealand next half an hour. Please, can you send it? It's like, my God, I had a whole year to fluff about creating it, and then suddenly it was a major.
And doesn't it happen like that? You know, it happens like that, doesn't it? It's like when the time is right, it's just like boom, and all falls into place.
It was just, I mean, that divine timing. I'd just been doing Tai Chi, and I thought, shall I go home or shall I just go out? Do something else? Shall I go shopping? I could have just been faffing about, basically. But something made me come home, and something made me look at that moment, find the number, and within that half an hour it was uploaded. Yeah. Like that. Divine timing. And so I'm really excited now. They've got 4 albums on. So when he said you know, we can only take 2 albums, I'm thinking, well, you know, that album's not even talking about tracks. So it's under, when you go on Air New Zealand, watch, listen, you go meditation.
Okay. Well, I'm terrified.
Okay, so you won't be.
So when I fly Air New Zealand, I will be able to listen to your music. I'll certainly be able to listen to
it cuts. I mean, you always hear the plane, obviously, and even with your noise cancelling headphones, but it does something else to your brain. It says it's okay, it's safe. And you just start, and we've been on a few flights, and my husband said to the stewardess, you know, look at this, and she's gone back to the end of the plane where someone's really panicky and told them to listen. You know, because flying and airports, they're immensely stressful. I mean, and now is even more so.
Definitely. Well, there you go. You got it.
So anyway, that was huge excitement. Yeah, as you can imagine.
And of service all over the world is what you wanted. You wanted to get your music.
Yeah, I wanted it to be, you know, and that vibration moving around the world.
And there you go. And you saw it and you made it happen. And of
Yeah.
course, the other really, really interesting place that your music has found its way, because it's found its way to a lot of different places. What it was how many? You've got 14,700 listeners on Spotify. You've got 4,800 listeners in the last 7 days, for goodness sake, you told me. And it's listened to in 83 countries. But another place that is of great interest and really, really interesting is like, here's Air New Zealand flying around the world, and yet your music is now at the bottom of the world.
Yeah, so shall I tell you that story?
Yes, go, yes.
So I woke up, with a sort of half meditation, half sleep, and I was shown, because the music was going around the world, then it needs to go to the North Pole and the South Pole. So yeah, that's easy, So I woke my husband up and I said, I've been shown it needs to go to Antarctica. How on earth do I do that? And he has this thing now. He says, ideas only on Tuesdays, because I have so many. He can't cope, and he goes, it can't be Tuesday. Under the covers, it is Tuesday. And he just mumbled Scott bass to me, and then I was off, you see. And so I put it to Antarctica, New Zealand, because you can't get through to Scott bass, personally. And, it's a very different concept, pitching crystal bowl music, that can help. And you've got to get through the secretary. And so nothing really happened. But, when I receive something from there, I never give up, because I know it's got a greater energy. And so, to cut a long story short, finally I wrote again when it was on there in New Zealand, and asked it to be, my email to be forwarded to Johnny Harrison, who it was last year, the winter bass leader. And he wrote back the next day and said, I have put it to the crew. Yes, please, can you send your music down on the next flight? And then this year is a new winter bass leader, so I wrote to him, and he said, thank you so much for reaching out. We have just had our last sunset. This was just before the winter, and the long polar winters are really challenging.
Yes, I imagine.
In the dark. And he said, I've just asked all the crew what will help us most, and they all said music. And so he went off to find it at Scott Bass. So yeah, and I have a friend in Alaska, so she's playing it up there.
Wow.
So,
yeah, you're bringing it in, you're envisaging it, and you're following it through, and your love for it and your passion for it and your dedication to it is sending it around the world. It's so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody will not everyone likes all sorts of music, but what we've found, when I say we, the people who listen, or my family, or people say, like you just feel like you're dropping. You come back to your center. That's what I feel. I mean, I always use the word aligning to the divine, because that's what I feel. It's like you can be really stressed and anxious, and we've had it all, haven't we, this year? And then you start listening to the bowls, and you just come back. There's a frequency there and a vibration that just soothes the soul. That's all I can say.
Well, that's the thing, is we're all made up of vibration. That's what we are, know, and the parts of us, and like this desk is a heavier vibration, it's a slower vibration, and a piece of stone is even slower again, and air is a higher vibration, and we are vibration, as the scientists are finding out. The more we look, the more we see that we're just air.
And with 70% water, and we have crystalline structure in our body, and so we resonate with something that is a very pure tone. That's the thing, it's a very pure note. And that, I don't know other instruments, maybe the flute, but when you play a crystal bowl, when you stop playing physically, the bowl still carries on singing. So over the years, the more I play, the less I play physically. It's almost like giving them a massage. Just, okay, we'll start you off, because I have many at once, and then they just sing together, and they create harmonics, and we're in bliss. Really.
Start vibrating with each other as well. Do they
Yes, they intermingle, and then they create another element, and
Well, you can hear that in the music when you sit and listen to it, you know, and just let it be, and you close your eyes, you can hear that real weaving of the
Yeah, it
sounds,
does. It
weaving of the
weaves and then it
vibration.
flows in, and the sound is coming out 360 degrees around the bowl. So it sort of does this, which is a very unusual.
And you can feel
Yeah, it's a
that.
very unusual energy.
You can feel that in your body. You can feel, I feel that circular motion. I can feel that rotating of the energy, which is absolutely beautiful, because that's really what we need.
Yes.
We
And the other
need,
thing that, sorry,
no,
the other
we
thing
need that
that
sort of winding, an unwinding almost at
yeah,
times.
unwinding. And the other thing that I found is with the music, if it's coming, you know, like actually recorded music, if it's coming through a speaker, you don't need it on very loud. It's not about the volume. There's something about it just seeps into the room very quietly. You know, so it works on most people, you know, like children, baby, you know, it doesn't matter what age you are, it seems to bring one back into a divine alignment. It soothes the soul. I mean, that's really what I feel, and that's why I feel more and more passionate about it. It doesn't go anywhere. When the kids were younger, it was quite embarrassing to have your mother playing, you know, crystal bowls. And I used to say to Sam, you know, well, what do you tell your friends? He says, oh, I just say my mum likes bowls, you know. But now they absolutely, they get it, they love it, they listen to it, you know, because they're past that awkward age.
And that brings us to the next piece, is that you had been doing some amazing work with teenage boys. Is that right?
Yes, and that has been very exciting. A teenage boy came here and experienced it, and he was so blown away by how he described it was he never had that peace before. You know, kids are studying, they're, you know, stressed, da 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 da. And so he kept on saying, I've got to do research. And at the time he was 15. And so, yeah, but how do we do that? You know, that's, you know. And finally, my husband, who is not a researcher of crystal bowls, obviously, but he does cancer research and he's a medical oncologist. So nothing to do with crystal bowls, but he could see the benefit. Okay, we could do a pilot study. And so we put it, and it got passed through ethics, and amazingly. And so we did a study in October where we had 11 teenage boys, 16 to 17-year-olds, and they came up to the clinical school, and so I actually physically played, but we kept them off my music, off Apple Music, they didn't know who I was. They just knew they were going to listen to bowls, and they would be filling in an adolescent questionnaire about mood states. That's all they knew. And so they came up, and, you know, kids are noisy, you know, they generally, and it was a Sunday morning, so, you know, and it was midday. So they filled in the form, and they came into the room, and we just dimmed the lights a little bit. And they were asked to bring a yoga mat, you know, and just lie down. You know, you could lie or sit for 25 minutes. That was it. So I started, and I started playing. And literally within 10 minutes, I had to smile just to myself. Most of them were out on another, you know, they were just zoning out. And I thought, this is what we should be doing with teenagers, calming them down. And at the end of the 25 minutes, I thought they would all just go, oh yeah, thanks. You know, she had to wake them up. And they came out, and one of them said, wow, what happened in there? You know, 1 minute they're all hyped, and the next minute they're all calm. And so they had to fill in the questionnaire again. And so we had a neurologist and a psychiatrist and a biostatistician who just collated the results, and it has shown some benefits. So the next thing we want to do is go into high schools and actually target the kids that possibly, you know, with the counselors who are actually really needing some help. Because most kids are not going to sit and meditate if you say go and calm down. And like myself, it's not that easy to just switch off. And you know, no one can hear you. Nobody knows what you're listening to. You can just go, I'm going to have 10 minutes. They don't know what it is. Could be rock. It just diffuses.
That's exactly.
And that's really what we want to do. We want to do a trial, but everything takes time. Patience is a virtue, and I would love it to be tomorrow and get it going, but
everything happens in its own time, in its own way, as you've already discovered. And I know that, you know, the more you push it, the worse, the further away it goes.
Yeah, totally.
Allow it to show itself to you, and allow for everything to find its place, don't you?
Yeah.
And then
so
when
it will.
Right, it will come forward, and it will be better. I love what Richard Bach talked about in his book Illusions. He said, if you think you've imagined it whole and perfect, the Is has imagined it much better than we have.
Yes,
and I think,
yes, absolutely. Oh, I got, absolutely. We don't know the incredibleness of the more it can be. But I do know that I really feel passionate about children and teenagers and the mental health. This is like the top of the bill here, and the well-being of young people.
Definitely.
So if it can even minusculely help somebody, like somebody, then we will try and get it out there.
Well, the thing about it can do no harm, can it? It can do no harm. That's the good thing, is that it's not going to harm someone. It will either be for them or it will do them good. You know, it won't be for them or it will do them good.
No, absolutely. They won't I mean, you know, I doubt that. I mean, you know.
It won't harm them, I'm sure.
It will either be, oh, that's annoying music, I'll turn it off and listen to something else.
Yeah.
Or, gosh, I feel a little bit better suddenly.
Yeah.
And then listen again. I mean, I'm not going to be physically going into the schools because I can't be there all the time and everywhere. So we will be using Tranquility as the track, and we will test that one.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. It's a lovely piece, that one. I was listening to that earlier on. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's got some very, very deep sort of yummy notes in it. It's like.
It's lovely. And of course you said before, you know, that it was you used with babies and you're helping mothers.
Oh yes, so that it's being trialed now in the Waikato Family Centre, which is for, you know, postnatal, the babies, the mothers, the breastfeeding, the depression, whatever. Yeah. And so I've just gifted it to them, and then they're now playing that there. They were trying to get off the white noise, you know, for the babies, which is not. It's not my thing.
No.
It may help some people, but I don't know energetically if it's so good for you having that white noise, because it's just a really scrapey sound.
Yeah.
So I'm just everywhere. It's going. It's finding its way, and as soon as I'm given another idea, then off.
On Tuesday only, though.
Well, I have so
only
many
on Tuesday.
Ideas only on Tuesdays. He says it's the quickest way to get out of bed when I go, oh, I've had an idea. Oh, no, I need to go to work. It's out of there.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's just priceless. So exciting. Watch this space, Annie. We're going to come back.
Watch this space.
We're going to come back and do another update in a while, and we're going to find out what's happening with all those lovely work and those trials that you're doing. Well, I'm very excited for you, and I'm excited for the people that are going to benefit from your work, as I have, and others will. And of course, the other work that you do is you do sound healing sessions in a sound bath.
Yes. So that's from here in Hamilton.
Yes.
One day that might be on Zoom. It's much easier to tune into spirit than trying to get tech savvy. I'll tell you. Yes, so I do sound baths. And what else do I do? Explain what a sound bath is. Yeah, so a sound bath is a sound healing session. Okay. Literally, you're bathed in many, many sounds of the bowls. And I play a crystal lyre as well. And it's just beautiful. Like that just sounds absolutely beautiful. That crystal lyre. Yeah. Yes. So that's what I do. I also have crystal bowls. If anyone's interested in playing themselves, I have stock of the crystal tones bowls. That's what the Alchemy.
They buy them from you, can't they?
Yeah. And they can come and and I do workshops, so you can come one-on-one and learn how to do it, and understanding it. It's more about sharing it, really, because yeah, I taught myself. I learned from, you know, amazing people, you know, Ashana and Beverly Wilson, she's in Mount Shasta. I've sort of gleaned over the years, but it really, you learn the technique from someone, but what you do with it is your own.
Unique to you.
Yeah, unique to everybody. They'll use it and play it in a different way.
Lovely.
And it's always the intention of what you bring through to what. Yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And as I said before, we'll have lots of Annie's contact details at the end of the session, and they'll also be on Annie's page on my website under Soulful Connections. So you can go and contact her, or you can go and see her on YouTube as well, which is just amazing. I put something up on my Facebook page, our 1K Living Soulfully Facebook page today.
Thank you.
Of Annie on YouTube, Weaving Her Magic. So you can go and check it out there. And of course, you do readings as well. We were having that conversation before about you doing readings.
Yeah, so I do that, and so I can do that anywhere in the world, obviously now on Zoom. So I bring through the angelic and the higher realms to help people move forward in their life right now. So it's not about predicting what will happen in 10 years or 5 years or 2 years even. It's about now. How can we align to the divine and just get grounded and be centered, and what opportunities now and how to do that. I remember years ago my mother thinking it was such a strange thing to do, even though she's like that. Why would people need that? And I'd say, well, you know, at your age, you know, she's probably 70 or 80, you might not need so much guidance. But, you know, us lot, you know, we all need each other sometimes to just either give us confirmation that we're on the right track, just be there alongside and support, you know, just to have, you know, we get stuck, all of us get stuck, and then you can't see the way out. And I feel my gift is I'm able to see that and where people are emotionally and how to move through that.
Lovely. And of course they can contact you through your website too, or on your Facebook page or Messenger.
Yes, on my Facebook or Instagram, just send me a message.
Yeah, lovely. That's cool. And of course, if we're looking at your albums, there's they're used for meditation and yoga and relaxation, and of course just for pure peace and joy.
Yes, and sleep. My latest one that came out this is Gentle Sleep and Serenity. So it's 70 minutes of uninterrupted anything, and so you won't wake up with a jolt. I remember someone saying that they never even got to the end of a sleep. They didn't even know what was at the end because they, you know, you're gone by then.
That was me the other day. I thought, I just need to go and zone out for a while. So I put my headphones in, put your music on, went up and lay on my bed, thought, I'm just going to listen to this for a while. And next thing I'm like, I've been gone for a while.
Yeah.
It was a wee while. I hadn't heard it in my you know, conscious hearing, but I'd certainly heard it elsewhere, because when I woke up I felt so much better. So yes, yeah, certainly sends you off.
Yeah, and when you so you imagine when I've created an album and I'm trying to listen to see, you know, if it's good enough or whatever. Oh, can't get through the track. Oh, missed it again. And you have to keep putting it on again and then listen to it again because you're going to edit or something, and you just keep missing it all the time. Yeah. So the one time I set my husband, I said, you listen. He sat in the middle of the room. He had the speakers. He had coffee. He'd had lunch. Sat upright, and about half an hour later I come and he'd missed the lot again. It's quite amusing.
It's like trying to trial a sleeping drug, isn't it? And you're the trialer. You're the person who's trialing it.
Exactly. So it's not good to drive to my music. You don't need to fall asleep to it, but you know, one can. It just takes you into a meditative state. You know, my son does yoga, I do Tai Chi. You know, anything that where you want to be centered, or just playing it in the room to soothe your children quietly. The kids might go, oh, what's that music? But they just...
Yeah, lovely.
I wish I'd had it when my kids were little, you know.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah, I'm trying it with my grandchildren.
Yeah.
And of course, your music is available on Spotify and on Apple.
Yeah, Apple Music.
Yeah, YouTube. People can go and watch you on YouTube.
Amazon is all over the show.
Yeah. It's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. And of course, we've talked about if anyone wants to purchase your crystal bowls or they want to have a healing session with you, they can contact you and you.
Yeah, I'm always happy to talk about bowls. So if anybody wants to, it's fantastic. Michael will come home. How was your day? You won't believe what happened today. He's like, poor chap. Enthusiastic.
It's such a joy, and you can see how much joy it brings you and how you're just so passionate about it, and that passion just comes through in everything that you do. That's very
I think the older you get, the more you're willing to take risks, and the more you just won't be put down to, you know, it's you want to stand in your personal power. And when you receive the vision or whatever it is from a higher source, then everything will align to bring it into alignment.
It will, and we have to be willing, and there is always that doubt, isn't there? There's always that kind of little thing that's going on there. Am I doing the right thing? Is this okay? But there is always this thing behind you. It's like Soulful Connections for me. It was like, really? Am I going to do that? Oh gosh, okay, I don't know how to do that. And you know, the old imposter syndrome and all that kind of thing has come into play. But when I'm here talking with you and like I did with Caroline and Joe, and like I am going to be with other people, you know, coming up, it's just like I'm thinking this is the best place. I couldn't think of anywhere else I want to be than doing what I'm doing right now. And it is that, you know, when you're doing it, that you are doing what you're meant to be doing. And the other
no, you know, one day you can be so aligned, and the next day you can be so off. And those are the days when my husband and I'll be going, oh, and he'll go, I'm not even listening to you. I'm not even listening to you. That's just the ego talking. It's just rubbish, basically.
It's your doubting.
Because tomorrow will be a different day. No, you know.
That's right.
Back
to stay with it, doesn't it? And just keep with it, and putting one foot in front of the other, and just keep following that feeling and that vision. That's what's really important.
And then you see how it works, because each time it pans out, you go, oh yeah, actually, it was right to do that, and it was right, and my gut feeling was right. It was totally right. Like, pay attention to this. It's really important to pay attention to that gut feeling. It's telling you, you know, so much.
And that's it. And we can receive the guidance, and we can receive the information, and then we can be like being a massive procrastinator and going, no, I don't want to do that. With this feeling of kind of like, oh, I'm always like, oh, I'm missing out on something. You know, it's like, oh, I must be missing out on something. So I better go and have a look at that. And then, you know, and then I'll act on it a little bit, and I'll see something for it, and then it's like, okay, I can follow this rabbit down the hole. It's cool. I can go. I can take this journey one step at a time. And then, of course, when you see, and I talked to my previous guest was Caroline Chavella, and she's an artist. You know, she said that she just has these visions, and she has to bring them into being because she wants to see them herself.
Exactly. So that's what I do. I want some music for me, you know. So I think, I can use that. Thank you. I'll do that.
It's like this. This is totally selfish. This is me being self-indulgent. I want this for myself. But and I love being able to do that. And I did all my years in theatre. I did exactly the same thing. I did that for myself. And the fact that other people benefited was a bonus.
Yes, exactly. Well, I mean, you can only do what's inside of you, you know.
Absolutely.
As I think as Oscar Wilde has this quote, and he says, you can only be you, everyone else is taken.
Yes.
I think it's Oscar Wilde.
You can be inspired by other people. You can be inspired by what other people are doing, but you can only ever be yourself and an expression of yourself, which is absolutely wonderful. Because your wonderful music and all the work that you do is such a divine expression of you, Annie, a very authentic, very genuine and very beautiful expression of you. And we're so
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're just such a beautiful person. I'm so honoured. I love the time we've spent together in the last few days. And I just, so what's next for you? What is next? Do you have any
No, I do. So we watch this space. I have other ideas in the ethers. Heaven will guide the next one.
You don't know what it is yet?
I have an idea, but I'm just
Not
going to
really
hold that
there.
one.
You hold that one. You don't give it away.
Yes, but there's going to be many. It's just,
Yeah. Wow.
I don't really know. I have learned to, as you say, take one step at a time, because it's too overwhelming to think way ahead. I can only do this little step.
Well, all we ever have is now, isn't it? A future is not gifted. It's not gifted to any of us. I learned that very, very profoundly through the funeral industry, that you can, and through the earthquakes that we had, that all we had was the moment we were standing in. And the tragedies, and the things that they were, was a huge teaching moment to be in the now. And that's hard when your brain's off everywhere and you're trying to think about what you can do in the future and looking back in the past and trying to be in so many places at once. And that's where we get exhausted and we get fragmented and then we get sick and then
and it just goes down a line. It
does, that's right. And so to have beautiful tools and great things of alignment to bring us back into alignment is really important, and to share our journeys is really important too, isn't it?
Yes, because it is inspiring. I watched your other two podcasts. It's really inspiring to hear other people, and that's why the people you meet on the street or at the bus, there's a whole story there. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I love it when you just open the door and then they let it out. It's, that we're not just humans walking around. We're not robots. We are living beings that are connected to source. Our greater part of us is in spirit.
It's our natural
as you say, we're expressing ourselves as you are Olwyn, and I'm expressing myself as Annie.
That's right.
And this is what I do now, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year. And this year, nobody knew anything from day to day. It's changing so fast.
That's right.
We take everything to try and be centered. I know I do.
Yeah.
Because you can easily be wobbled off your center.
Oh, I stay out of the news and the media and all those other things. I don't want to watch that. It's so grating. It just jars me to watch all that going on. I
totally.
pick up bits that I need to, if I need to.
Yeah, I do. What are we supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
But we can be of service more if we are centered.
That's right.
Because us wobbling away over here is not helping anybody. But if we're centered, we're putting out that vibration of centeredness and calmness, and might just touch someone else that calms them, and touch someone else.
I've come to see what all the calm is about.
Sorry?
I've come to see what all the calm is about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but believe me, it's not always calm, so we all flow with it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is that, I think that there's this kind of myth about the spiritual journey, is that we're all going to go towards this great peace, and it's like, no, actually not. You have moments of peace, you have moments of calm, you have times when you feel that you're on the right path, and the rest of it is kind of bumping along on some sort of wagon that's got square wheels.
Yeah.
As it feels like, oh, here we go again, oh my God.
Yeah, here we go, I can't believe we're going there. And of course that law of attraction keeps making that happen.
That's right. Yeah, and so it's all about us just going, look, what am I learning from this? If I find myself in those situations, I go, okay, what do I have to learn from this? How did I find myself here? And what do I need to know about this? And as soon as I do that, I take myself away from that kind of feeling, oh, this is happening to me, or why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
As opposed to, why did I need to be here, and what do I need to be here for?
Yeah. And the really biggest thing, is my prayer always is to offer myself to be of service. Now, I don't know what that looks like.
No.
Some days, I might put that out, and someone else somewhere else may be praying for some help, and then the angels or the high realms will go, and it's you today, and they'll match you together. I keep saying that, and the person will say, oh, I was just beside myself, I didn't know what to do, and then you rang at that moment, and da-di-da-di-da, the rest is history. Absolutely. Just if we keep holding that, because when you're being of service, you're not so much about yourself, you're not worrying about yourself and agonizing over this or that. You're actually in a different space to give to someone else.
Yeah, absolutely, Annie. Well, thank you for your gifts and for your service. I know.
Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you, dear. And I appreciate it. And I know that the viewers and people who are watching this, if you're new to Annie, you go and check her out and you'll love it and appreciate it too. And share it with your family because they will benefit from it as well. And thank you, Annie. We've covered everything that we needed to, and it's been lovely catching up with you and you sharing all your beautiful work with us. So I'm going to say thank you to you and goodbye for now. And I'm just going to say goodbye to the viewers, and I'll be back with you after the finished recording. So
thank you, Alwyn. Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Annie. It's been absolutely wonderful to have her here with us. And thank you all for being here with me on this third program of Soulful Connections with Annie Jameson. And I'll see you back next time for program 4. Until then, take care and go well.